Emma stood at the counter of the crowded downtown cafe, her heels clicking softly against the tile as she reached into her designer bag. The scent of espresso and cinnamon filled the air, and the soft hum of morning conversations blended with the hiss of steamed milk. She offered the barista a warm smile, the kind she'd perfected over years of boardrooms and business deals, and confidently tapped her card against the reader. A sharp beep, then nothing. The screen flashed, declined. She blinked. That had to be a mistake. Her face remained calm, but her heart gave a sudden, inexplicable jolt. She tried again, same result. She laughed lightly, a sound meant to soften the moment, but it sounded thin, even to her. "That's strange," she murmured, glancing down at the sleek black card in her manicured hand. Behind her, the line shifted. A man cleared his throat. Someone else sighed. Loudly, the barista raised an eyebrow, polite but clearly pressed for time. "Would you like to try another card?" Emma nodded, reaching back into her bag. Why wasn't her assistant answering texts? She could have handled this instantly, but she wasn't about to explain herself here. Not now. Not to these strangers. Her fingers brushed uselessly over receipts and lip gloss. Nothing. That's when she heard a voice. Calm, unassuming. "I got it." She turned, startled. A man in a worn hoodie stood behind her, his expression open and kind. He looked like someone who didn't have much, but didn't need much to give. Before she could respond, he'd already stepped forward, tapping his card on the reader. "It's just coffee," he said with a shrug. Emma stared at him. No pity, no pride, just quiet generosity. And for the first time in a long while, she was speechless. The wind nipped at their faces as they stepped out of the cafe, the warmth of fresh coffee cups between their hands, offering the only real shield from the cold. Snowflakes, light and slow, drifted through the air like tiny dancers, landing on Emma's coat and melting instantly. She glanced over at the man beside her, the stranger who had just paid for her coffee without hesitation. "You really didn't have to do that," she said, her voice softer now, humbled. There was no corporate polish to her tone, no practiced charm, just sincerity. He gave her a modest smile, the kind that crinkled the corners of his eyes. "Didn't feel right, just watching," he said. "You look like you'd had one of those mornings." She chuckled quietly, grateful for his lightness. You could say that. They walked a few steps in silence before he nodded toward a nearby bench. "You've got time to sit? Not often I get to share coffee with someone who looks like they stepped out of a fashion magazine." She laughed. "A real one this time." "Sure, why not?" They sat. The cafe's noise faded behind them, replaced by the occasional honk of traffic and the whisper of winter wind. He took a sip and let out a contented sigh. "I'm Lucas, by the way, Emma." "Nice to meet you, Emma." He looked at her. Not through her title or appearance, but as a person. "Been a rough year," he admitted after a moment. "Lost my mom last spring. Took care of her until the end. I left work to be with her, and now just trying to find my feet again." Emma listened, moved by his vulnerability. She rarely heard real stories anymore, only polished pitches and professional facades. This was different. This was human. She didn't tell him who she was. Not yet. Today it didn't matter. Today they were just two people sipping coffee and sharing something real. Later that evening, Lucas sat on the edge of his worn-out couch, a cup of instant noodles untouched. Beside him, the soft hum of a heater rattling in the corner of his small apartment. The coffee from earlier had long gone cold, but the moment lingered her voice, her warmth, her eyes when she thanked him. He hadn't expected anything from it. He hadn't even asked for her last name. His laptop pinged a new email. Probably another job rejection, he thought, clicking it open with low expectations. But the subject line stopped him cold. A small thanks from Emma. He furrowed his brow and clicked. "Lucas," the message began, "you didn't know me this morning. You didn't know what I do or how much I have. But you stepped up when I felt unexpectedly small, and that matters more than you could imagine." His eyes widened. "I'm Emma Reynolds. CEO of Brightpath Technologies. Maybe you've never heard of us, but we're one of the fastest growing tech companies in the country. We just launched a new social impact division, and frankly it needs someone like someone with heart, who doesn't wait to be told to help. There was a formal offer letter attached. A real job, full benefits, a role with purpose. But the personal note hit harder than any salary figure. You reminded me today what leadership should feel like. If you're willing, let's build something meaningful together. Lucas stared at the screen, disbelief washing over him. His hand trembled slightly as he reached for his coffee cup, still warm. This morning, he was just a guy trying to do the right thing. Tonight, the right thing had changed the course of his life. He leaned back, tears stinging his eyes. Sometimes the smallest kindness becomes the turning point no one sees coming. Asterisk, the hum of soft conversation filled the sleek, glass-walled conference room as Lucas stood at the head of a long polished table, tablet in hand, dressed in a navy blazer and crisp white shirt. It had been just 4 months since that cold morning at the cafe, but to him it felt like a lifetime. He took a quiet breath, steadying the excitement and nerves that bubbled beneath the surface. Emma sat at the far end, watching with a calm, steady gaze, her usual air of control softened by something more personal. She wasn't just listening. As a CEO today, she was rooting for him. Brightpath has an opportunity, Lucas began, voice clear and grounded, to not just create technology that works, but technology that serves. He clicked the tablet, and a slide appeared on the screen behind him. This social initiative isn't just about charity, it's about dignity, empowering underserved communities with tools, training, and access. That starts with hiring differently. It starts with seeing value in people others overlook, like you saw in me. The room went quiet. Executives leaned in, exchanging impressed glances. He wasn't just another hire. He was a vision in motion. Emma felt a lump rise in her throat. Lucas didn't know it, but the division he now led had been floundering before he came. It lacked soul, passion, direction. Now, it was thriving. And it wasn't just because he was smart, it was because he cared. When he finished, the room erupted in light applause, not out of obligation, but from genuine respect. Lucas sat down, cheeks flushed, breath caught. Emma leaned forward, her voice low but sincere. "That was powerful," she said. "You're not just part of this company, you're shaping it." He looked at her, eyes filled with gratitude. She had changed his life with one email, but it was his heart, his humility, that had taken it from there. From a stranger in a cafe to a leader in a boardroom, Lucas had done more than Risey, had reminded them all what leadership could truly look like. Asterisk, the cafe Hadan tea changed much. Same warm lights strung across the ceiling, same soft jazz playing faintly in the background. The baristas moved with their usual early morning rhythm, the scent of fresh espresso hanging in the air like a familiar hug. Lucas stepped through. The doors, now irregular. But today felt different, like something was waiting to come full circle. He wore a tailored coat now, subtle badge of how far he'd come, though he still carried the same old calm in his eyes. He approached the counter, but before he could place his order, he noticed the young woman in front of him. She was fumbling nervously with her wallet, his cheeks flushing with frustration. "I swear I just got paid," she mumbled, tapping her card. Again, declined. The line behind her shifted, just like it had that morning months ago. Lucas didn't hesitate. "I got it," he said gently. Stepping forward, she turned, wide-eyed. "No, it's okay really. It's just coffee," he smiled, repeating the words that had once been spoken to him. "Let me." The barista smiled knowingly and rang it up. The woman looked like she might cry, not just because of the kindness, but because someone had seen her in that vulnerable moment and hadn't looked away. "Thank you," she said quietly. Lucas nodded. "Pay it forward someday." He turned to find a seat, and there near the window sat Emma. She'd watched the whole exchange, coffee in hand, eyes shining. She raised her cup in a quiet salute, and he smiled, joining her, full circle. She said softly. He nodded, just how you said it would happen. Outside, the snow had started to fall again, light and slow. And inside, warmth passed from hand to hand, stranger to stranger. Sometimes the world doesn't change in grand, sweeping moments, but in the quiet gesture of buying someone coffee. And sometimes that's enough to rewrite a life.